Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is multiplying fractions. There's three types of ways we could do this. We could multiply a fraction by a fraction, like this fraction times this fraction, 2/3 times 1/4. We could do a fraction times a whole number, like this fraction times the whole number 6. Or we could do a fraction times a mixed number. So we've got this mixed number, 3 1/2 times a fraction. So there's three different types you could see. So I'm going to show you how to do all three. For a fraction times a fraction, our step one is to multiply the numerators. That's the top. Okay, the top numbers. So our numerators are 2 and 1. If I multiply those straight across, 2 times 1 is 2. Okay, step 2 is to multiply the denominators. That's the bottom numbers of the fraction. So that would be denominator, denominator. So 3 times 4 is 12. So I've just multiplied this fraction by this fraction. All we do is top times top, bottom times bottom. We get our answer, and then we must always simplify. So I need to figure out what's a number that I can divide into both of these. Well, I can divide both of these by 2. Remember, what you divide the top by, you must also divide the bottom by. Same numbers, because we need to keep the fraction equivalent. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 12 divided by 2 is 6. I can't simplify anymore, so there we go. I just multiplied a fraction times a fraction. Now let's move on to fraction times a whole number. Step 1, we need to write the whole number as a fraction. So look at 6. How do I write the whole number 6 as a fraction without changing its value? I've heard some people say, oh, we'll put a 1 over it. Well, 1/6, that's not the same thing as 6 wholes. Okay, so that won't work. So what we need to do is put a 1 underneath it. Okay, 6 over 1, 6 divided by 1 is still 6. So I did not change the value of 6. So anytime you have a whole number, to turn it into a fraction, you're simply going to put a 1 underneath it. Okay, after we do that, we're going to multiply the fractions and simplify. So I've rewritten it down here. 7 over 8 times, and the whole number 6 as a fraction is 6 over 1. To multiply fractions, we do top times top. So 7 times 6 is 42. And bottom times bottom, 8 times 1 is 8. Now step 3, I must always simplify. Okay, so what number can I divide both of these by? Well, I know I can divide them both by 2. 42 divided by 2 is 21, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. Okay, I cannot simplify this fraction anymore. So let's practice right now changing this to a mixed number. So remember, this fraction bar means to divide. So I'm going to top in, bottom out. 4 goes into 21 how many times without going over? 5. So 5 times 4 is 20. 21 minus 20 is 1. So I've got my whole number. My remainder is my new numerator. And I keep the same denominator. So 21/4 is the same as 5 1/4. Okay, now let's see. Fraction times a mixed number. Fraction times a mixed number. Well, step 1 is to convert mixed numbers to improper fractions. Remember, an improper fraction is where the numerator, the number on top, is larger than the denominator, like 21 over 4. This is an improper fraction because the numerator is bigger than the denominator. So whenever I see a problem like this, 3 1/2, I need to change this mixed number to an improper fraction. Okay? After I do that, I'm going to multiply the fractions like I've been doing and then simplify. So how do we change 3 1/2 to an improper fraction? I'm going to rewrite it over here. Okay, I know some of you have learned ma or mama, where you multiply these two numbers and then you add the one on top. You may also hear teachers say the Texas method, TX, that stands for addition and multiplication. All you do is take your denominator, 2, and you multiply it by the whole number. So 2 times 3 is 6, and then 6 plus 1 is 7. And you keep the same denominator. So again, ma, multiply, add, or Texas, okay, TX, add, multiply. 2 times 3 is 6, and then 6 plus 1 is 7. Keep the same denominator. Okay, so as you can see, that's already been done here for you. So you have 7 halves times 4/6. Remember to multiply fractions, it's top times top, so 7 times 4 is 28, and bottom times bottom, so 2 times 6 is 12. Now I must always simplify, so this fraction's already simplified for us, but let's figure out how we got there. 28 divided by what is 7? Well, it's going to be the same thing as whatever 12 divided by something is 3, because these two, whatever we're dividing by, has to be the same number. So let's see, 28 divided by 4 is 7, so that means that 12 divided by 4 should be 3. That's right. Okay, so here's our simplified fraction, 7/3. Now I want to practice changing this improper fraction, the numerator is bigger than the denominator. I want to practice changing this improper fraction back into a mixed number. So remember, this bar, fraction bar, means to divide. So top in, bottom out. 3 goes into 7 2 times. 2 times 3 is 6. So I have a whole number of 2 with a numerator of 1 and a denominator of 3. So 2 1/3. Okay? So will the product increase or decrease in the following situations? Well, let's look. Fraction times a fraction. So I started out with 2/3. I'm going back up here, fraction times a fraction. When I multiplied that by another fraction, my answer, 1/6. Did this fraction, 2/3, get smaller or larger? Or stay the same? It got smaller. 1/6 is less than 2/3. So my fraction decreased. A fraction times a mixed number. Okay, fraction times a mixed number. All right. Sorry, back down here. Decreased. A fraction times a mixed number. Well, if I look up here at this example, when I had a fraction and I multiplied it by a mixed number, I went from 4/6 all the way up to 2 1/3. So yes, my fraction got bigger. It went from a number less than 1 to a number over 2. So it increased. Okay, and then a fraction times an improper fraction. Okay, well, let's see. A fraction times an improper fraction. It still got bigger. Increased. And then a fraction times 1, well, it stays the same. Because anything times 1 stays the same. Stays the same. Okay, so what do you notice here? A fraction times a fraction. Well, a fraction is less than 1, so that's why my number went down. A mixed number is greater than 1, so that's why it went up. And an improper fraction is also greater than 1, so it went up. So my answer increased. So that's just some food for thought. What I want you to do now is I want you to come over in your journal somewhere on the side, and I want you to follow along and write these down. We're just going to do some examples real quick. If I gave you the fraction 2/5 times, let's say 4/10. 4/10. Well, remember to multiply fractions, it's top times top. 2 times 4 is 8, and bottom times bottom. 5 times 10 is 50. Am I done? Nope. I need to simplify, so what number can I divide into both of these? Well, let's start with 2. They're both even, so I can divide them both by 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4, and 50 divided by 2 is 25. Sorry. Now, is there a number that I can divide into both of these? Nope, there is not, so that is my simplified fraction. Let's do 4 times 1/8. Well, remember I have a whole number here, so how do we change a whole number into a fraction? What do I need to put underneath it? A 1. Now I have 2 fractions and I can multiply. Top times top, 4 times 1 is 4. Bottom times bottom, 1 times 8 is 8. I need to simplify this. I can divide them both by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 8 divided by 4 is 2. Okay, let's try an improper fraction like 11/3. Improper because the top is bigger than the bottom. Okay, times 3/8. Okay, top times top, 11 times 3 is 33. Bottom times bottom, 3 times 8 is 24. Okay, and now I want to change this mixed number this improper fraction back into a mixed number. So remember, this line needs to divide. Top in, bottom out. 24 will go into 33 one time without going over. 3, I can't do 3 minus 4, so I need to borrow. 13 minus 4 is 9. Okay, so I have 1 and 9 24ths. Can I simplify 9 over 24? I can. I can divide this by 3 and this by 3. 9 divided by 3, I'm just going to bring my whole number over. 9 divided by 3 is 3, and 24 divided by 3 is 8. All right. Can I simplify 3/8 anymore? No, I cannot. So that is my final answer. Let's do one more multiplying fractions. Let's do 2 and 1/5 times, let's do 7. Oh, I've got a mixed number and a whole number in this. Well, I know I need to change the mixed number to an improper fraction, so I'm going to multiply and add. Okay, so 5 times 2 is 10, and 10 plus 1 is 11. I keep the same denominator. Times, now I need to write 7 as a fraction, so I put a 1 under it. Now 11 times 7 is 77, and 5 times 1 is 5. Now I need to change this improper fraction back into a mixed number, so let's divide. 5 goes into 7 one time. The remainder of 2, bring down my 7. 5 goes into 27 5 times. Minus 25 is 2. Now I've used all my numbers under my house, so I've got my whole number, my new numerator, and my denominator. So 15 and 2/5. 2/5 cannot be simplified anymore, so that's my final answer. So that's how you multiply fractions, and then there's just some examples for you if you need to refer back to them.